Dummy Switch Pod.
Yes, sir.
The boys are back. Rugby's back, so the boys have to come back. You have to come back, give you this rugby chat, give you this unfiltered opinions,
Yeah.
We kick this one off with the Kolisi Mbonambi derby goings on there.
It felt like it was, eh?
Yeah, it's got that sort of undertone. Kolisi returning home to the Storm as Mbonambi. He couldn't lose in this one. He couldn't lose
in his own house. It does. I think. Look, it was one of those games where it really felt like, okay, look, it was all for the Stormers, and the Sharks are just they looked at 6s and 7s, but yeah, it was an entertaining game for me. I was a bit concerned.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting ones in this one. Marvin Ori, it's his first game home. You've got Engelbrecht, who made his way down to the Stormers. It's his first game at 8. Not necessarily how he would have wanted to start his career there, but nonetheless, new month, new competition. I mean, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just happy to have rugby back. I'm not going to sit here and say, but we could have had overseas. This is only SA.
Yeah.
It's the third go around at guys playing against each other domestically, but it's always good to see your own rugby.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. It's always good to see your own rugby. And I kind of feel like with this weekend, it actually felt different, as much as it was the third sort of go at it in terms of playing each other. But this weekend really felt different. It also looked different in terms of the quality of play. And you can see teams have been putting in work. The Stormers have changed.
Yes.
They've changed. They really have changed from where they were, as a team to where they are now.
Looking back at the first tournament, it's a different team in this one. I don't know what it is. It shows that maybe they have been working behind the scenes. Some of us think that maybe they're just playing touch during the week, but clearly they have been putting in some work.
They have, and I mean, I think as well they're motivated by the fact that they need to try and keep some of their players, because I think to quote you, you said the devil works hard, but Rock Nation works harder, so that's what's going on. Let's not shy away from that.
Yeah, someone who, they're basing this team around, Kate Volitzer. I mean, in the beginning, he kicked it off with 3 points. He looked the part in this one. He looked the part until the injury. Prior to that, he's sort of kicking them over from distance. They had talk about his percentage being around 85%. And, he was just looking the parts. It's just Willems, even when Van Reenen did come on, he came on in at 10 and Willems stayed at 15. So it looks like Willems is totally out of the running for the 10 spot.
Yeah. And you would have thought, look, Abner Van Reenen is a good player. Make no mistake. I rate him. I like his style, man. Ever since he was even at schoolboy level, he's got that thing about him that he's got that X factor that he can win you games. But the concerning thing is that you have a Springbok, and in a game like that, where look, it came down to 3 points at the end of the day. But you would have thought that potentially they would have put more responsibility on Damian Willems to say, okay, listen, chap, you gotta steer us home here and get us over the line. Not taking anything away from Abner Van Reenen, because in the preparation series he showed his worth, and that's why he was there. But it's just interesting, that dynamic, and really I think this cements Damian Willems as a 15 going forward. And now he's got to play his socks off.
I mean, we're gonna see what happens when Kalan comes back. one thing about, you know, the pandemic and that is, I mean, time is just moving. We saw Eddie Fushia come back already, and he was injured, you know, seemingly, it seems like it was about 2 weeks ago. Another guy that coming in sort of taking big responsibility was Marvin Ori. He was a presence, you know, from the beginning. You could see in the lineouts, taking kickoffs. You know, they've got some timber there, and Peter Steff and Schickerling, but I mean, he slotted straight away, and he seems to be you know, taken a leadership role early already.
And I think it's what we were saying, like about him when he made the move. We were saying that, look, okay, you know, maybe there's some elements to his game that, you know, can be better, and now for me, from this game, he looks like he's back home, man. You know, he's home. So, you know, he's found his place. He's a mature player, and you can see his influence and his skill at the lineout. You know, I think you can't underrate or underestimate the work that goes into the lineout. For him, the pressure that he was putting on the Sharks, Hooker, Fezenbata, and even the Jumpers early on, they really didn't have an answer. They really didn't. You know, and that's down to Marvin Ori, because he's good at that. I mean, that's why he was at the Bulls. You know, he was at the Bulls under the tutelage of, you know, great locks. You know, even at the Lions, he had that influence. But I think now with the Storm I think he's found a place where he can now really assert his leadership, and also take his game, not even take his game, but, you know, allow his game to mature like fine wine in the Cape.
But we definitely saw his, you know, his impact for that first try. It was off of his line out that they sort of hit in the middle, and then they replayed it. They came back blindside. Sharks defense pushing them back. I mean, it almost looked like it was going to plan for the Sharks, but they got the ball out wide, and it was Volitzer who got the ball out wide. Yeah, he got it to Nell, and then Nell just cut up a few forwards.
Yeah, look, that was, I think, even with the Sharks defense up front, initially I was like, oh yes, go boys, you know, because they were just going back and back and back. And then I think it was Schickerling who, you know,
he got a bit of go forward,
got a bit of go forward, you know. Then the ball went out to the young man there. Look, Kate Voliter, look, it's really unfortunate that he got injured, because, look, for me, he was looking like the real deal in that game, where it's just like, you know, if I'm Damian Willemse, if I'm Alton Yankees, if I'm even Andre Pollard, I'm thinking, hey,
if you're Cohen Bosch, Cohen Bosch, he was being shown up a bit by Volitzer in this one, I feel.
Yeah, I think in the early stages he definitely was, but credit to Cohen Bosch.
Yeah, Bosch came into it, you know, like later on.
Yeah. He did, and I felt like as well I felt like he kind of knew, because you could see the amount of pressure that he was putting on, one-on-one pressure he was putting on Kate Voliter before he got injured. You know, he was chasing him down. You know, even with the bombs, he was there. You know, so for me, that's a credit to him, because he wasn't sort of stepping back and you know, shying away. I think he realize the imminent threat that, listen, I have aspirations. This kid definitely has aspirations, and there's no way to hide, you know. But yeah, look, Kate Williter, definitely the real deal. The Storm is definitely a much more improved team, you know, by far. You don't know if it's because Peter Steff is back. You don't know the components that are there in that team, but they look like a much better team. And they were really, for me, they were just unlucky to not come away with the win in that game. And that's being honest, because discipline let them down. You know, I think Willie Engelbrecht, he was a bit unlucky, man. Look, you know, those tackles, yes, okay, they start high, but they move up. And it's like, is that really a yellow card initially? You know, I know what the law says, but, you know, he's
playing an old style of rugby. You know what I mean? He's playing.
Yeah.
He's taking it. You know, he's playing maybe rugby from about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where it's like that was okay. It's just unfortunate that it comes at this time, because those, coaches see those kind of tackles, they'd be applauding you in that time period of about 10 years ago. That would be good tackling in that in sort of that time period.
True. Look, I understand, but it's just, I just kind of feel, yes, okay, from a technique point of view, you can do better, considering what
he
was
can,
as a professional. He can do better, yes, but as well, just in terms of, look, fortunately, there's those law variations now with, if you get sent off for 10, the yellow card, 20 minutes later, somebody else comes in your place. Okay, fortunate that they've got that, because, it's not like the Sharks really capitalized on the man advantage. At one stage, I think they were up 2 men.
Yeah. Let's go back to after the first try. Straight after that, we're sort of 11 minutes in. This time it's Voliter out wide instead of him, the man passing 1-on-1 with Fez Mbata, and cooks him up.
Oof. Oh man, he cooked him
straight through Ricus Pretorius try. At that point, I'm thinking, I've seen Fez Mbata, they sort of put him on the team of the week. But at that stage, I was sort of looking at him. You're missing lineouts. You missed a 1-on-1. It's not looking great for you, especially with the man on the bench on the other side looking over.
Yeah, look, I was, the first time I saw that, I was like, who was that? I thought I didn't expect that, to be honest, but credit to Kate Voliter, great footwork, beat the man. And look, geez, the way he beat him, it looks so simple, he beat him with the footwork and a little show on the inside. Yeah. He fell for it, and it was weird almost, and yeah, look, I think Fez, when I saw that, I thought, look, this is too easy, and the Stormers, they were just running away with it, and I was just like, this is going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, it's 17-0 after 11 minutes, and then this is like the sort of the crucial turning point. Red card for Sinatla, and he lost his head. I think that's the only way you can describe it. Sort of,
I think
you see him going in there.
Wasn't focused. I don't think he was focused at all. He didn't even have his head, because, yes, you're chasing, and then at the last minute, you realize that, oh shit, the guy's in the air, and he was there, Yeah, there's nothing more to say about that one.
Yeah, there's a few moments in this game where there's sort of nothing more you can say. Going back to it, this was sort of that sort of 5-minute time period from when they're on a high after 17-0 to red card to immediately after was Willie Engelbrecht's yellow card. That's sort of when the whole thing gets turned around. That's sort of when that momentum shift, where you've got sort of, this is also the introduction of the captain challenge, where I think is very good at this, sort of influencing the ref and having a few chirps. He sort of says to the ref, have a look, and then the ref says to him, like, is this a challenge or not? And then he's like, no, but it's not a challenge, sort of thing. And then you've even got confusion with the commentators, where Shimmy is saying that it's not a challenge. You've got the other guy saying it was a challenge. So I think it was a bit confusing all around. Other than that, I do think it also takes a bit of time. It's not quite enjoyable waiting.
Yeah, look, I think it's got its pros and its cons. It's if you're trying to stay in the game, and give yourself an opportunity, if you make that captain's challenge, you better be sure of what you're challenging, and and hopefully the decision goes your way. Not hopefully, and the decision must go your way, so that you can have the ball, right, and get some points, get a chance to get some points on the board. But I agree with you there. It takes a bit of time, But in that instance, I don't think it was really the captain. It wasn't the captain's challenge at the end, because the ref even said to him it would have been a good challenge if it was. Yeah. But going back to what you said about his influence, because he mentioned it, the TMO in the background, sort of, I don't know if it was the TMO or the production crew, they must have shown images to the TMO, you know, in the box, because then he's the one that said, hey, listen, I want to refer something to you, you know. Otherwise, it would have just been play on if didn't say anything, you know. And credit to him for I think he's maturing as well, maybe as a captain, and, you know, just for mentioning that to the ref, because now they're alert. Now they're looking for, you know, certain actions, but it does take long. You'd prefer if it happens in sort of in real time behind the scenes. Maybe begs the question, maybe, you know, instead of one TMO, you have maybe two. The one is specifically,
they don't have that many screens. They don't have that many screens and wires and...
No, they need to up the budget, you know, but I'm just suggesting, you know, just for the flow of the game, because if there's somebody that's looking at, especially foul play, we're not saying, because look, you can find a penalty at every breakdown, but if we're specifically looking at foul play,
which we saw with the final sort of captain's challenge to keep the Stormers sort of in the game, that's when we saw you can literally find a penalty at any breakdown.
Yeah. Because I don't think that was I know we're going off route, but I don't think that was a penalty, because I felt like initially Nohamba was on the ball, you know, and the player should have released, considering how quickly he was holding on in that game from a consistency perspective. I felt he got it wrong. He got it
and
right.
And then you want two TMOs. You want two TMOs. Those guys will come up with two different answers, you see.
No, but I mean for foul play, specifically if we're looking at foul play in the background, if we're looking for a guy to say, okay, look, there was foul play while the game is going on, because then he's able to, you know, allow the game to flow, stop it once he's identified what the issue is, you know, show it on the screen quickly, you know, instead of saying, no, I have another angle. Get all your angles right and say, look, this is it. He's got to go, you know, and he's got to go, and we carry on. Simple. Look, it's just a suggestion, just an opinion, you know, on how we can increase the flow, you know.
For like Sharks, for this one, in mentioning I think had a very good game. I think he was influential defensively, you know. He was sort of cutting off the play out wide. I think, you know, he hit the line one memorable time. He really hit the line when the Sharks were rolling. Fasi was, especially from the beginning, he was involved, just, you know, heavily involved.
He's the danger man by far.
I felt like sort of this was also a time where I felt like, you know, from that period until halftime, it was, you know, a bit scrappy, not much entertainment value. The Sharks, interestingly enough, you know, they've got their woes at the lineout, but their lineout moves seem to be, you know, they seem to be on point. You got Sia Kolisi, he broke blindside, and, you know, they had identified that's where Chances was defending, so sort of he almost got over, and then Thomas Dutoy scored there. I think that was their first try.
Yeah. I think, look, it was well worked. You know, unlucky for Sia not to get over the line, but, you know, credit to Herschel for defending, putting his body on the line. But it was well worked, and I think by then they sort of worked out how they can, you know, negate the Stormers contesting at the lineup.
Yeah.
But generally, you know, not a lot of teams, when they're in their 22, what I've picked up is that very few teams try and contest, you know, in the air. It's like out of 10, you'll find maybe there'll be like 3 contests in the air, but when they're close to the line. And I feel like, you know, you have to, if you throw a man up there, you know, it's a contest. You can win that ball, you know, and potentially stop a try. But credit to the Sharks with their lineup move. And then also that one, I think it was their second try, was it, just before half time. You know, it was, like you say, strangely enough, that lineup rose, but then both their points came off lineup moves.
Yeah, the lineup moves. We had Sia breaking off in that one, and inside ball to Mbata, which again, interestingly enough, the commentator kept on saying it was Noche for some reason.
I don't know what was up with that. Like, I was like, no, man, this guy, maybe he's had a bit of too much Cape wine, you know, because he's seen things.
So he got the captain's challenge wrong, and then he got this one wrong. And Shimi did mention that it was Kolisi, so I don't know what else going on with that, man.
I think at some point, Shimi was just like, look,
he gave up. He gave up. He's like,
say what you want to say.
Yeah, My guy, I don't know. There's some underlying tension between those two, maybe.
Maybe there is, eh?
Other takeaways from first half. Namaklava, we saw him on the ground, sort of his influence just growing and growing and growing in the game.
Man of the match for me. No, man of the match. He had all the big plays. Think about it. Okay, Renil Huru got 3 tries. Okay, nice for him. But all the big plays, plays, influential plays came from that boy, Namaklava. He's, I think wherever, he's just thanking his lucky stars, yeah, Sia's gone. Now it's my time now. And he's really, he's taking it with both hands. His work rate is unbelievable.
I think he sort of, he is a different type of player. So I think the dynamic is it's more balanced. I think with Kolisi there, sometimes Kolisi, he's sort of, he's got that physicality and he's got that ball carrying and then he's got the fetching. So I think sometimes it messes up with the balance because it's like, you don't know, is this guy a fetcher and then is the other guy the ball carrier because he's doing a bit of both. So sometimes I feel like the balance is off, but I feel like he, as a fetcher, is just, he's taken that role and he's run with it.
Yeah, look, he's brilliant. I'm glad that you brought him up. I think he's a standout. If I think about all the players on the park on the day, for me, he's standout because he had, like I said, he had most of the influential plays. He had big plays, and the times where he got the Stormers out of jail as well when, the Sharks were looking to be hot on attack. I just loved watching him play. I'm not got to give credit to credit is due. He's one for the future, definitely. He's definitely one for the future. And yeah, look, we must be happy in South Africa. We have a factory of loose forwards, man. It's like a warehouse. Yeah, we've got version 2.0, different models, and we dish them up, man.
Yeah. Next point for this one, you've got Marvin Ari there, who had been good up until this point with an interception on the line which was dropped. I just think it's one of those where you saw his name in the paper the next day and
look, for me, I felt like he had a good game all around. It's just that one moment where he was just unlucky. He was just, I think it was just unlucky because he read it well. And I think really he was surprised that the ball was in his hands. And, it's almost like, because if you look at where the ball, because it came off his left hand and the ball ended up going to the right. And it's like, how did it, because it kind of feel like he got that fright where it was like, oh shit, I've got the ball. But I think unlucky, but good game from him all around. I really
then
believe.
After that, you sort of see another lock showing him how it's done. You've got Hugo. This is when, he sort of turned it on. The tap on the 5 meter, he gets over for the try. This is sort of again where Stormers, that second Engelbrecht yellow, and this is where again it turns into that turmoil that they were facing.
Yeah, that's really, I think they're their own worst enemies in that regard. And credit Renil Euro, look, he just all of a sudden, he all of a sudden had the Midas touch, from there on after that tap, because then he came back. I think 2 minutes later he got a second.
That's the thing. That's the thing. At this point, sort of the Sharks got rolling. I mean, this is when they really started to turn it on. You could see Grant Williams there. Them with the quick line out to Pentley from Pentley, sorry. But I mean, Pentley, he was doing nothing the whole game. I think him and Spoon Corsi, they barely got the ball out wide, which, I mean, there are points where the Sharks did get rolling, but I mean, those guys, it sort of wasn't a great showing out for them because, I mean, they barely got the ball.
Yeah. They that's absolutely correct. I mean, if you look at the action that the Stormers backline got compared to the Sharks backline, the Stormers backline definitely saw more action. I think everyone got a touch. Rikus Pretorius got a touch. Willemse got a touch. Sinatla got a touch before he got off. Van der Merwe got a touch. Ruan now got a touch, and they all had some good moments, good runs, so, and then you look at the Sharks, they just don't get going, and you're right, Penle, Nkosi, his carries didn't look like they had purpose, and even just in some aspects from it, the technical side of it, the kicking, receiving the kicks, it just, for me, it left a lot to be desired, because I was like, okay, look, is this really my next in line Springbok winger? And you have to, okay, fine, first game, okay, but like no, because there's other players that have just lifted the bar or continue to be on that same level. Pengle as well. Look, you could see he was trying to get involved, but early on, even defensively, those guys, they were getting caught out. The guys were slipping tackles.
Yeah, definitely like nobody's business. Try as well.
So, but credit to him for staying in the game, and identifying that moment and look, putting the Sharks on the front foot. Grant Williams, I felt like he looked decent enough, and I think we spoke about this, about all of a sudden the number 9s that are around. There's quite a few guys around now that, staking a claim. I feel like if you're talking about 9s, sorry, I'm just a bit like digressing here, but if you're talking about 9s, Nohamba's players, his players has regressed, if not been static from where he was, and I'm not too pleased about that. He's my guy, man. Like, I've got big hopes for him.
I think maybe he's potentially. I mean, it's early days or whatever, but potentially you can see him looking at other unions. Having a look at the Lions there, saying, Andre Warner, Van den Berg, maybe that's a place for me, or looking. Because that's some stiff competition, and you still got Hendrickson.
Yeah, you still have Hendrickson, and I won't lie, like it's very difficult to see him unseating Grant Williams and Hendrickson, and especially with just the kicking side of things, So, but anyway, we'll get to that. It's just, for me, the Sharks, like I say in this game, the Storm was really unlucky. They were their own worst enemies. I can't say
they're unlucky. I can't say that they're unlucky because it's by their own doing. It's like it's by their own doing. So I don't
yourself.
The only thing that they were unlucky about was Follett's injury.
I think when he missed those 2 kicks at goal, hey man, I would have asked to be subbed, because after that, that's when he got injured. It's just like the start of, because it was those 2 kicks, and then the third thing was his injury. You've got to feel for him, especially because of how he started this game and sort of how he was passing it. Obviously I was impressed with the Sharks, later on in the game, even, the hands just moving through. I think it was for Hugo's third try. It was one of those where coast to coast, sort of touchline to touchline, where they're making it work. After that, we see JJ van der Mesh.
His introduction. After that, you've got last 10 minutes, Ward getting that yellow from pressure and you've got Van Reenen coming on, him obviously showing what he can do. That little chip at the end. First it was actually the chip for the Willemse try when he hit it out to Van der Merwe. That's composure. And execution.
Yeah,
that was that's some real skill for him. And then another moment which was a bit of a shocker was now for the end there, that dive. I don't know, it's one of those where it's like the less said the better.
He should have just kept his composure, because when you look at it, all you need to do is just allow the ball to bounce for him. It looked awkward. Even you saw it, you was just like, "Eish, my man!" Like, yeah. But you can't blame him. I think, like you say, it's their own doing. So yeah, I was feeling sorry for them saying they're unlucky, but like you say, it's their own doing. So I'm taking my sympathy back.
I mean, even at the end, I mean, you've got Stormers fans. I mean, what I was seeing was sort of frustration about the discipline. That was like their sort of sore points about this whole thing. I mean, both of us aren't Stormers supporters, so we can't. I mean, you can sit here and say they're unlucky, but I mean, the way that they're feeling, I'm sure their supporters are feeling like, you know, it was one thrown away rather than one that was just, you know, swung this way or that way by luck on the day.
Yeah, it was really, you're right. It's their doing, you know, so yeah.
Next time we've got the Bulls at home versus the Lions. The one thing I have about this round though, the only sort of thing that I said, the first 5 minutes defense was looking like a training match in both games. You know, Chris Smith, he cut back into traffic and then, you know, he found a few forwards for defense. That's training match. That was training match defense.
Hey, my man. I was like, no. I was like, really? They let this guy? Because they let him. You know when you let somebody.
I mean, and then they were even talking about, I think it was Yanni Duplessis who let him through, and they sort of said he was working tirelessly after that to sort of reclaim his name, because I mean it hurts a few egos.
Yeah, but look, credit to him. He did work hard, you know. I think the doctor, he showed his worth, you know. But you're right. The early minutes of both those games, it just, you can put it down to early sort of season, sort of, you know, getting orientated again to the high tempo, you know, and the team that takes the initial initiative, you're basically able to sucker punch your opposition, you know. Yeah. And that's what happened. And then it was just this Lions Bulls game was weird, a bit awkward for me, because the Bulls were playing, you know, but at the same time, it's almost like they were fully aware of the danger that the Lions bring on attack. You know, it just felt so apprehensive. If I'm making sense, you know, from the Bulls' point of view, but also the Lions. I feel the Lions were, again, I think they were in a way they were their own worst enemies, because they just. It goes back to that, I think, was it early Curry Cup, where, you know, you can see the play, man, but they just not.
But that's executing. The thing. I'm feeling as a Lions sport, I'm feeling like these guys are sort of, there was a sort of spark, and there was sort of a threat that the Lions had, where I feel like the further we're getting away from the Ackerman days, it's like we're losing it with every game. And there's sort of games where you can see it's still there, and then there's games like this where I just feel like, you know, it wasn't really there. The first 20 they did have sort of sustained possession and sustained territory, which was very good, because I mean, if you look at the sort of the last time that we played the Bulls, you sort of had none of that. I mean, you look at the Stormers, the last time we played the Stormers, it's like we had none of that. So I mean, it was good to see that there's sort of, you know, I think the last visit to Greenpoint that never happened. It was sort of good to see that didn't happen again. I think that was because Peltzer played. You know, having someone, because they were much better at the breakdown. They were much better at the breakdown.
Yeah, I think they kept Marco from starting quiet for a very long time in that game. For a very long time. I think he only got his first year.
Yeah, he got rolling in like the last quarter.
Yeah, you know, and my question to you is this, Quarters. Your halfback combination at the Lions, are they fit for purpose? I'm not saying they're bad players, but are they fit for purpose in terms of the way that the Lions play?
Yes and no. One, I think, yes, he can play in that way, but you've got Zeilinger there, and I just don't necessarily feel like he's. I mean, you think of Zeilinger, I don't think of him as a running fly half. I don't think of him as that guy that's gonna take the chance. You know, I don't think of him as that risky dude. So I mean, yes and no. I mean, even Warner, it's like you think of him, came from the Bulls, so you think of more that structured type of play. And I think I think he suits that type of play more. So yeah. I don't know why Van den Berg isn't starting, because it seemed like they had sort of put faith in him as the next Faf and then sort of gone on to change that. So I'm not too sure. I think this is also, they're using it as an exercise in sort of seeing what they have, which I don't know if I'm necessarily happy about. Swanepoel, him coming off as well, not great.
Oh yeah, not good at all. That's unlucky, man. Oh jeez.
Yeah, and he's out for the tournament, so I mean it's not great. It's not great for the Lions. He was sort of filling it at 10 as well. So now you've got a situation where Ivia Viljoen came on, he didn't have a great game as well. So
yeah.
It's not, I won't lie, like it's not looking great for us, but one shining light for us. I mean, it was Similani. I mean, he was heavily involved in this one. I think he was the best player on the field.
Yeah, you mean like overall, right?
Overall, I think he was excellent.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. Nobody else like really stands out for me. I think, look, if you look at, okay, Chituka's work rate, you're always going to get that. And
he had
his
big
hard
runs.
Carries.
I think he's introduced a good step into his play.
Yeah, so like from that perspective, you're going to get that from him. But like overall influence and, injection, I think, Similani does definitely take, player of the match in that one. Outstanding, like that, the kid is just so talented, and I feel like I'm concerned. I'm a little bit concerned, I don't put it down to selection. That's why I asked about the Lions halfbacks.
Look, Zeilinger had a good game. He had a good game. I think, especially first half. There were moments where, I mean, that kick that he even had that hit the bar. He did keep us in the game at times, but he's no Elton Yankees.
Yes, but that's what I was getting at. That's what I said. I'm not saying that they're bad players, no, and I'm not saying that they had bad games. All I'm saying is that he just doesn't. For me, he just doesn't. It's like he doesn't set that line on fire,
Yeah.
And also I'm concerned about. I don't know, Dan Kriel over Berger Odendaal. I feel like Berger Odendaal and Similani make a better combination.
Yeah, I think it's just because of Odendaal coming off injuries, so I'm not too concerned about that one. That's why I said I think this was an exercise from the Lions, which is sort of seeing what they have. But as a supporter, that's not what you want to hear. Like, you want them to go out and sort of be playing the best 15 week in, week out. It's unfortunate about injuries as well, which is also why you've got Zeilinger there. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's still early in the competition, and I
think a big positive for the Lions is yes, Similani, but also the loose trio on the day.
Yes. Horn was impressive as well. I think Horn showed like he's his worth and sort of the type of player that he is.
Yeah, no, I can fully agree. I think the Bulls are still concerned with their scrum. I think you take Lizo out of it. You take Trevor.
He had a big impact coming on.
Yeah, I mean, even that try assist. The try assist, and that I think felt like that's what really put the game away. Is Lizo's try assist, but. From a scrumming perspective, take Lizo out of it. He even had a steal as well.
Yeah, he was big on the ground as well.
He was big, but take him away from the scrum, take Trevor away from the scrum. The Bulls are very vulnerable up front, when it comes to scrum time. And I think if I was them, I'd be worried, especially, if it happens that they end up going up north or whatever it may be. I'd be concerned because there's
a big gap. There's a big gap with the Bulls between your Trevors and your Lizos and sort of the next guys in line. There's a big
Yeah.
There's a big sort of drop off there. And I mean, I know that they're trying to push the younger guys. And I mean, we saw what happens when they try to do that against the Pumas. You know, he got disciplined.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a big drop off. And I mean, you're looking at sort of in the news, you've got Harry Foster, who I felt like should have been a Bok. And he, you know, potentially coming back to South Africa. And you've got the Bulls again, you know, writing those checks, trying to entice him over. And it's like what you said about the front row. It's like, should they be shoring up the front row instead of getting a number 12 who sort of they have an answer for that in Hendricks?
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like I know they don't want to send the wrong message out to the youngsters, you know, but at the end of the day yes, they've been winning, they're on a winning streak, but at some point, you know, they're all going to get dismantled badly. And from there on, that's going to be the status quo for them. And you can't rely on or play your Springboks into the ground from just in my perspective. You know, I would say they need to really invest more in up front, you know, because we all know it all starts up front. You know, I think the most solid tight five at the moment starting. Yeah, it is because you got Kitsoff, Maleba, Skara or Mbonambi there is the Stormers. You know, they've got the better sort of front row, you know, with the better sort of locking stocks as well. And now they also, you know, okay, Namakaba, he stands out there at loose forward. The others, we still need to, you know, leave a question mark for them, you know. And then when you look at the Sharks, you know, Oxenchair, he hasn't really taken his chances, you know. For me, he really hasn't, you know. And then Thomas Dutoy, look, he's trying, you know. I mean, he even does work on the ground, you know. So you give him credit because he was more solid at tight end for them, you know. Then you look at Fairs, you know. Then you look at Reniel Hugo. I've always liked him since Varsity Cup days, you know. I always thought that he's got that something about him leadership wise as well, you know. So, you know, they've got something there. Loose forward, loose trios. I don't know about the balance, you know, Golisi, Noche, Fenta. I'm not sure because I didn't, but anyway, you know. And then the Bulls, I think they're solid at loose trio, you know. They've got
the loose trio. You know, I mean, you saw Elric Lowe, you know, him
man,
especially at the end, him coming in with his try, like. You know, their loose forwards are very strong, especially with Van Staden still there. You know,
yes.
I mean, obviously he's leaving and Kossia is coming in, but I mean, if we're talking as of now, I mean, loose forward stocks they've got it.
I think they have the best loose forward stocks in the country at the moment, and I think most balanced. Hey, but Albrecht Lowe, I'm glad that you brought him up. He was big. He was big in his carries through the contact zone, you know, and just he's a force. You know, I read an article a couple of months back that, you know, he molds his game on Dwayne Vermeulen, Richie McCaw, Skalk Burger. And I won't lie, like in watching him, I was like, okay, I can see a little bit of the elements of each one because he's good. You know, for me, he stands out. He stands out for the Bulls.
Yeah, not too many other things to take away from this one. It's just that sort of when the Bulls when they want to turn it on, they can turn it on and they can put you under pressure and suffocate you. And I mean, that's what we saw with Evil for you and getting that yellow card is sort of that sustained pressure, and then the wall just breaks and then the tries come through. Madosh Tambwe unlucky to get his try, that one ruled out. I think he, you know, defensively a few sort of concentration issues, but besides that, I think he's found a good home. Lions perspective, Sadi, he showed up the scrums, You know,
Yes.
when he came on, he sort of had that effect. Now we know what we get from Zeilinger. Chituka,
Okay.
you know, we saw the Chituka brothers in effect. You know, they sort of, it would be good to see them get a bit more game time together. Another worrying position, I think, in this game for both teams is the hooker position. I mean, the Lions, I mean, as much as we talk about sort of South Africa loose forward stocks, we talk about, you know, the scrum half stocks. I think the hooking position, we're seriously lacking. We're seriously lacking. I mean, we've got Mbonambi and Marks, but I mean, you look from province to province and it's just sort of young guys that haven't sort of kicked on. This one, both hookers for the Lions, not great.
Yeah, both hookers for the Lions, but also I think the Bulls hookers as well. They still not, they're not there yet, you know. So I think hooker is a concerning position, you know. If we're looking at what's here locally, you know, we're not looking at the guys that are overseas.
Yeah.
You know, locally, I think hooker is a concerning position. If it had to happen that Mbonambi does go to the Sharks, I think for the Sharks that would be a masterstroke. They need an international quality hooker. I'm sorry. If they are going to get anywhere in any competition, they need to have an international hooker. And in that turn, that gives Skara a full go at finally sort of really staking a claim for himself.
You know, if he can stay injury-free, I think he did have a good performance this week.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that like injury-free and just finally him just playing his rugby, you know, and being the best that he can be, you know. But then you look at the Lions and the Bulls, you think to yourself, okay, you know, what are they going to do at hooker? Because that's really, it's a concerning position for me. You know, it really is, because it doesn't look like they have any suitable alternatives that are of that high quality standard. And that's going into serious competitions. It is going to be concerning, I think.
And I mean, even we're talking about the Lions series coming up, it's going to be like, what happens if one of those big guys get injured? What happens if, I mean, it's not uncommon for sort of your maybe your first guy and your third guy get knocked off by injury. Then you're starting your second guy, and then now you've got to sort of look around and see who you can fill. You're going to land up pulling all kinds of guys from overseas because there just isn't the depth there. Or we can look to the Pumas, to my man Simon Westrad, because I mean, there's your solution.
The Bulls.
If I was the Lions, I would definitely sign that guy.
You know, but I think Bulls have got first dibs, isn't it? You know, or they should have, no?
I mean, we don't know. We've seen Engelbert go all the way down to the Stormers, so I mean,
to the Stormers, we'll right?
Another interesting thing.
He wasn't going to go to the Bulls.
Another interesting thing that we're seeing from the Bulls, which I like to see, is the implementation of a draft system for the clubs, which has seen them designated first team players.
Yeah.
This is sort of, we've seen this, I think, more in other unions. Particularly, I'd say the Sharks sort of had this kind of model, but I mean, they sort of floated in and out of it. It's interesting to see, like, with the Bulls, if you know, it's nice to implement it, but is it, you know, are they going to stay on it? Are they going to develop it more? And I think, you know, that's one of the positives of Jake White. There are a few. There are many downsides of having him, but I think this is a good step, very good step. I mean, I think it'll get people going to see club games, you know, which means more money, which means better facilities, you know, step up the game. And I just hope that we see more of this from like the Lions. I hope that we see more of this from other clubs as well.
Yeah. Like I completely agree with you there. You know, it's when I read about that, I smiled because I was like, you know, it's I think, especially in a time like this is what our rugby needs, because, you see they made that super sport schools announcement and all of that. And now, the Bulls are getting involved with the clubs. And it's just, if you're a club player right now and there's a guy from the Bulls coming to play with you guys, automatically it changes your psyche. It changes your mindset, your thinking process. The way, look, you're gonna, instead of now, you just, yes, fine, you maybe still be playing for leisure, but you understand that there's potential for, bigger things through this, because now you're getting information from somebody that's at the pros, and he's feeding it back down to you, especially if it's somebody that's in your position. Or
even if it's not in your position, those guys teach you how to be pros. There's guys that are sort of, they have the talent, but they don't have the lifestyle. One interesting thing though is, I mean, you talk about how, it's going to be, sort of getting the guys up and going. What about those guys that finish 9 to 5 and then you got to go face Dwayne from Newland? That's that's the other aspect of it. But I mean, I suppose, we all do this. We're all up for the challenge when you do that kind of thing, playing rugby. So
I think it's a great initiative. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Go back to club rugby.
Definitely, I think you'll have a few more guys turning up for practices. And
especially I think for the Pretoria area. Look, like you said, Jacob, there's positives there with him, and if they can keep that going in Pretoria, you'd hope that you'd see a knock-on effect in the other unions, and as overall, just the overall quality of SA rugby just going to that next level, it can only be good for us.
Can only be good. And it's been good to have rugby back. Yes. Any final closing remarks?
Well, no, we're just looking forward to the next one. Let's go.
Definitely looking forward to the next one. W Switch Pod. We're out.